Excuse me while I whip this out. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Hey, you know what? We whipping something new out right now. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you all a chance to get into your chat room. Normally I kind of like play some stuff or whatever to give you all time to get your notifications together and share, right? And share. So I'm going to play a beat. You know, we're going to give it about 4 minutes. And then once I see the room starting to populate, then we're going to pop. So give me about 4 minutes on that. We got a new show today, which is really crazy, brand new. I know y'all saw something happen. When you got the notification. Y'all saw mi gente, my people. Now, it took me 2 weeks to get that right, by the way, because I kept going, mi gente, mi people. And Claudia was like, no, it's my people. So we get together. So we have a new show. Yep, I see you populating. Yeah, we here. This is the Mi Gente, My People brand new show under the One NYCHA banner. We are uniting NYCHA one show at a time, which means we're uniting the masses. We're trying to create a voting block and all kinds of things. I got my man Manny Martinez in the house. So full of information. You know, you talk to Manny and it's like, you know you're going to get super informed. I got CC Perez in the house. She was on the One NYCHA show. And she came on and she was very passionate when she came on. And very aggressive, right? And she goes,
excuse me while I whip this out.
And then pulled out a speech. She said, I have a speech. And she read her thing, man. And I was like, wow, I was impressed. So I'm about to hit the button in a minute. You're gonna let it go like another 4 bars. And 1, 2, 3, and all right. So I want to welcome you all to the new show, Mi Gente, Mi People, and I'm gonna get right to it. And introduce the host and the host. Here we go. I'm swinging it. The camera's on y'all. Talk to me, Mr. Martinez.
Yes. Good afternoon, Rock. Mi Gente, my peoples. We here. We in the house. I am so humbled and honored to be doing this because this is what we need at this time, right? Mi Gente, my people is designed to be a resource of information, of next steps, of understanding where we are and how they're approaching us, to eliminate some of this confusion. And I am honored also to be here doing this with my fabulous co-host, CC Perez.
CC!
Hola, ¿cómo está?
I'm gonna have to give you the beat.
Yeah, ¿cómo está?
Todo bien.
Todo bien. That's what this is about, y'all. This is Mi Gente, My People, because we are all considered one, and NYCHA, we are intergenerational, and that's what we bring in here to you today and every Saturday here on out. It's a long time coming. This is what the people asked for, and we're here to give you what you want. As my partner, Mr. Martinez, told you, this will be your resource for anything NYCHA. Anything you want to know, anything that comes up, this is the place to be. Not saying that we know everything, but you know what? Guess what? We could figure it out together. That's what this is about. But what's so special about this is that we're incorporating English y Español. And for far too long, todo es en inglés. Now, as you can tell, my Spanish ain't that good, but I'm going to stick to the English. But we will also in the future have Spanish subtitles for you to follow along with the show. That's why we're called Mi Gente, My People. Some of the things that we are going to cover is at the forefront right now. It's voting season, y'all. We have lots and lots of people running for office. A lot of them we don't know, but they are knocking at our doors. They want us to sign petitions to get them on the ballot, and they have our lives in their hands. And right now, this is our opportunity to put the right person in for us. For far too long, we have just sat back, or we voted people in that were not beneficial to the cause of NYCHA. This is NYCHA standing up, right, Marnie? Can we
Sí.
say that?
So, esto es NYCHA parándose, por fin. Parado, nosotros somos unidos, poderosos cuando estamos unidos. We are powerful when we are united, and what happens is we have not yet engaged in that power. Todavía nosotros no nos unimos con el poder. Nosotros tenemos el poder para poder decir quién va a ser el alcalde. We have the power to say who's going to be the mayor. Tenemos el poder para decir quién va a ser el gobernador. We can decide who's going to be the governor. Y también podemos determinar quién va a ser los representantes locales. So estamos hablando de la asamblea, the assembly member. We have the power to pick the local politicians, the assembly members, the council members, los consejeros, the state senators, and even a Congress member.
District leaders, too.
And we can do this, but we have to move on one accord. We have to talk about organizing our vote. Tenemos que hablar de la organización del voto. La problema que nosotros tenemos y seguimos teniendo si no lo cambiamos, the problem that we have and will continue to have if we don't change this, is that we just go and vote on voting day. Solamente vamos a votar el día que viene para votar, and we are not voting collectively. We are not voting, we're not telling the persons that are coming into office, I want a policy. Yo quiero una policía, una
No.
póliza.
Yeah.
Perdona mi español, a veces se me va a turbar, excuse my Spanish, and for those, excuse my English sometimes too, right? So, but we're gonna work this out. But we have to tell them we want a policy that's gonna affect us, right? We're looking at the economics of NYCHA and the amount of billions of dollars that's coming into NYCHA, and it's the number one excuse that I hear from politicians, oh, that's federal, I'm city. Pero tú sabes una cosa, tú le dices a ellos todo el dinero que está entrando a NYCHA y ustedes no están beneficiándolo, y el consejero de la ciudad dice, oh no, eso es federal, yo soy ciudad. Pero la cosa es que ellos pueden ser las leyes local en la ciudad para reinforciar las leyes federales. They can make the laws locally to reinforce the federal legislation, to make it work for us. And so this is what we are going to be discussing and engaging, how politics and NYCHA combine. Vamos a estar hablando con lo político y NYCHA, a donde nosotros vivimos, nuestra casa, como eso combina, como eso trabaja junto. Claudia?
One of the major things we face here today, and I want to bring this up because you know that we have a district attorney race coming. And for a very long time, a lot of people been complaining about the safety and security within our developments. Now, with that being said, you also know a lot of us don't have keys to our entryways due to the fact that NYCHA does not have replacement keys. They don't have, when your child turns age 12 or older, they are supposed to receive that front door key, and they are not receiving these keys. So you have families that are in households who don't have keys to their own entryways of their apartments, apartment buildings. We also need to address, we have a great homeless issue. We have a lot of activities going on in our lobbies, stairwells, that can be, it can be handled. And how it can be handled? By the district attorney giving us search and seizure money that our communities are so impacted by this. So give us back some of our money. And this is what Mr. Manny was telling you guys when we talk about policy. When we go to these elected officials, matter of fact, when they come to us asking for things, these are the things that we need to be asking them on a whole. We need to be asking them, what are they going to do for us? They need our vote. So what are they going to do for us? And not only what they're going to do for us, we're going to follow them as they get into office and hold them accountable for what they have. What I thought about doing is we as resident council presidents, and let's cover that point right there, Manny. Both Manuel Martinez and myself, Claudia Cici Perez, we are both presidents. And we represent, between the both of us, close to 10,000 people.
Yes.
So you have two representatives that has 10,000 residents
And we represent
right here
10,000.
in this room right now. So when I speak, I have to be very careful on how I speak because I am representative of the residents of NYCHA, and it is time for us to come together as a whole. Even though we might have different agendas, we have the same goal. And our goal is for better living. We want economic growth. We want more stability through our Section 3 rights. We want safety and security, which is simple. And I'm getting back to that point. Safety and security. You should feel safe when you're going into your building. You should feel safe when you're putting that key in your apartment door. You should feel safe when your 10-year-old child is going across the street for maybe a loaf of bread or some milk. Our babies are suffering. We cannot raise our children the way we were raised. Yes, it is a different society, but I remember in my day, my mom was able to send me to the store and I was able to get there and back safely. Why? Because everybody in our neighborhood was watching as you walked down that block. Every single person in NYCHA who has a concern, you need to reach out to your resident councils. You need to work with your resident councils. At the end of the day, we can only do this together. Am I right, Mr. Manuel?
100%, 100%. La única manera que podemos hacer esto es juntos y también sabiendo lo que está pasando en nuestras comunidades. So the only way we can do this is together and also by understanding what's going on in our neighborhoods. Now, just wanted to elaborate a little more on what Claudia was talking about with the district attorney's offices. So now they have funding that they get. They have funding that comes to their office from their assistance with federal prosecutions, right? Where they seize drug money or things of the like. Manhattan has an excessive amount of money. I think they're into the 500 or 700 millions. I know Queens had 113 million during the last district attorney's race, which
Manhattan has
just
the
happened.
largest, yes,
Yeah,
it does.
Manhattan. I think Manhattan has about 700 million. And so when we see how they use that funds, they use that fund to give officers more supplies, or they'll build basketball courts in our neighborhoods. That funding, it has to be spent. Ese dinero, esos cientos de millones de dólares, tiene que estar gastado de una manera específica. It has to be spent in a specific manner, right, for security. So when we look at now developments and we look at issues such as the trespasses, right, because when, you know, we have a homeless issue, but once they start sleeping in public housing developments, public housing isn't private property. I mean, public housing isn't public property, it's private property. Public housing, housing público no es propiedad público, es privado. Aquí es donde nosotros vivimos, aquí es donde nosotros creamos las familias nuestras, tú sabes, los hijos, las madres, las abuelas, todo eso, aquí es donde vivimos. This is where we live. This is not private property, I mean public property. Coming to NYCHA to sleep is not the same as going to a train station. It's not the same as somebody sleeping in Central Park or sleeping in a public playground. Viviendo, tú sabes, NYCHA no es lo mismo cuando ellos vienen a dormirse en la estación de tren o en el parque de Central de Nueva York o un parque público, right? This is where we live. And then so we are now engaging with trespasses. And this is what they are when they come into public housing. I know that we have this issue, and I notice for many of them, they don't have the fault because the circumstances that we're in. Yo sé que ellos, tú sabes, no tienen un sitio y necesitan un sitio, pero housing público no es el sitio. Public housing isn't where you need to come. This cannot be accepted, and it's being accepted. It's being tolerated as if it's normal, and they're trying to get us to normalize it, and we can't do that. And so we have to
Absolutely
ask,
not.
we have to demand for them to spend that public money.
On
Tenemos que
us.
demandar que ellos gasten ese dinero público, nuestro dinero, para el beneficio de nosotros, para el beneficio del público. They have to spend that for the benefit of the public, not for the benefit of themselves, which they have been. They've monopolized our politics, and it's time for us to break that up.
I have a question, gang. What about what's your guys' take on like ownership? You know what I'm saying in public housing, right? And ownership and owning your apartment and ownership. Like, what is that about? What is your take on it? Because a couple people have mentioned that. They say, well, you know, it's about ownership, right? You know, you don't actually own your apartment; you rent your apartment. But, you know, and we had someone on the show the other day that got actually duped with the RAD program.
Absolutely.
They moved them out. They said they were going to return them back in, and then they knocked down the whole building, and then that was it.
This is something that has been going on for ages.
Okay.
So when we say ownership, we are supposed to, under our federal legislation, we are supposed to have. All right, let me bring it back.
Okay.
NYCHA was supposed to be the stepping stone towards home ownership. Now, due to the fact of them not doing what they were supposed to do on their part in leading the pathway for home ownership, that's why we're not here today.
Okay.
NYCHA, as we all know, own brownstones, and they own houses.
Okay.
They own homes.
I didn't know that.
Public-private homes. They
Right.
own homes.
Wow.
Like 2-story homes, single homes with 3 bedrooms, and NYCHA owns this property
And
as
it's-
we
and it's
speak
NYCHA.
right now.
And it's
It
NYCHA.
is New York City Housing Authority.
I've seen some very nice ones. Yo he visto uno casas que tenía NYCHA que son bien lindas. And that very nice, very pretty. And then they got access to home ownership of those houses. I also think that home ownership, the discussion of home ownership is of the public housing unit itself. Tú sabes, también hay la posibilidad de ser dueño del apartamento, el apartamento que está. Now, the purpose for public housing, ¿verdad? Perdona. What's
En
purpose?
inglés, en
The
inglés.
purpose, right? So el intento de housing público es para ayudar a la gente de ir de pobreza una ganancia del medio, como yo dice, middle class, you know, trying to get you from poverty to the middle class. Home ownership is a way for them to do that, and they have access to provide that. That's an option for them.
They're supposed to also, see, this is something that they don't mention. They're supposed to work with you, with the banks, towards preparing you with your credit, with all of that information, and they're supposed to help you get those loans. If you are eligible, they're supposed to help you manage that process that you go through with the banks. They're supposed to have banks that are going to give you the loan, go through the loan process with you. And these are things that they are taking away from us. These are things they are not mentioning, because guess what? There go your home ownership. That's your equity.
100%.
There's another aspect to it too. They have the access to Section 8Y.
Yes.
Right. So now Section 8Y, and I just want to clarify on that.
Can I just be clear? Are you saying Section 8 and the letter Y?
The letter Y.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the X.
Yep.
Well, the letter Y, right?
Yeah,
So
okay.
Section 8 and the letter Y.
Uh-huh.
So that is a specific type of Section 8 that can be coupled with the home ownership process. in which they provide subsidy for either the mortgage or the down payment. And so that's a particular type of Section 8 that they could utilize. So es Sección 8Y, right? Eso es una clase de sección que NYCHA puede ofrecer para una persona que quiere comprar su apartamento para ayudar con el pago del mortgage o el pago principal, tú sabes, el down payment. Now, we want to preserve Section 9. Right? It's not about, when we talk about home ownership, we're talking about home ownership in the sense of preserving and restoring public housing to where it used to be. Tú sabes, hablamos de home ownership, de ser dueño de su apartamento para ellos que pueden hacer dueño. Tú sabes, que tienen la financia y tienen la capacidad, tú sabes, yo digo, no capacidad, la experiencia, tú sabes, y la sabiduría de entender cómo bregar con el mortgage. So for those persons who have the understanding and the knowledge to, you know, deal with them, because it's a different kind of engagement, right?
Different.
Home ownership is different than owning an apartment, and owning an apartment is different than living in public housing,
100%.
right? And so, you know, we have to have that compliance, porque no queremos que ustedes tengan una casa y después te van a votar, porque no puede mantener el mortgage, no puede mantener el seguro, no puede mantener los otros costos, los otros gastos que llega. But, you know, we want to make sure that everybody who goes into home ownership is able to maintain a home ownership, and then they could use that asset in 5 years to go on to the next step if they choose to, right? Because it's about equity. Tenemos que pensar, cuando nosotros pagamos renta, la renta se paga y tú no lo ves más nada. Hasta el otro mes que venga, hasta el otro mes que venga. And you know, you pay your rent and you don't see your rent again. When you're paying a mortgage, that's going back to your equity.
Can I just elaborate on that? There are over 35% of people in NYCHA that pay over $1,200 a month in rent.
Okay.
I will say it again. There is over 35%
So it's 38%.
of people living in NYCHA right now, under the conditions in which we live in, that are paying $1,200 or more in rent.
The average is $1,350, right? So we have 38% of
And let me also, over 90% of all rents in all of NYCHA are paid monthly and on time.
90%.
Over 90%.
And now you're talking about they ain't got no money.
well, NYCHA gets $1.3 billion from rent, right? And
$1.3 billion a year.
Every year.
1.3.
So, el ingreso de NYCHA es 1.3 billones, so 1.3 mil millones en renta al año, solamente renta. Y después le dan otro billón o casi otro billón en la financia de HUD, right? They get also close to another $1 billion, maybe 900, I think last time was 980 million. That number was less before than it was now. Right now, it did go up. The number that they get, it just wasn't enough to fix the disrepair. But yes, they did this. NYCHA is a $3 billion company. They're a $3 billion institutions. 3 billones, 3 mil millones de dólares entra a NYCHA cada año. El otro billón, the other billion, mil millón, viene de Sección 8, right? It comes because the
Section
housing
8.
authorities throughout the country, they're the ones who distribute the Section 8. Now, yes, you will have Section 8 that comes from the state, and you also have some type of voucher program that may come from the city, like the city has FEPS. But Section 8 from HUD, from federal, that is distributed solely through a housing authority,
Okay.
right? So,
I mean, what it sounds like to me with all that money kind of flowing around, and then plus there's an influx of cash that you actually get from the federal government. Am I accurate that they send out every month, every year, or something like that?
say that again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That the federal government, they give NYCHA a certain amount of money every year also.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Section 9.
Because right now we're talking about the renters,
Yeah,
right?
we're talking
are
about
doing
people
are
like
doing
us.
$1 billion a year, and then NYCHA gets an influx. How much of that cash they get from that influx of finance that they get from the
Talking about the
government?
federal
That fluctuates, right?
Okay.
So Section
It
9
depends.
fluctuates, and one of the biggest challenges that NYCHA faces is that because that number fluctuates, they don't know what they'll get the next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's up and down, and it's never the full amount of what
they
is
ask, indeed.
legislated.
Okay.
Right? And so, tú sabes, NYCHA, tú sabes, ellos dicen, oh, nosotros no tenemos dinero del gobierno federal porque ese número sube y baja cada año. Nunca es, tú sabes, el mismo número que entra cada año. Y eso es político. Es determinación del dinero que entra a nuestra comunidad de NYCHA, eso es determinado político. Eso es el Congreso que da la confirmación del budget, ¿verdad? Al año, right? So you have Republicans and you have Democrats, and then you have some Democrats who are Republicans, but they
Democratic
they
Republicans.
they under the blue donkey.
Trumplicans.
Listen, you got the purple, and now it's called purple, right? It's not red or blue. It's
Dixiecrats.
the purple.
So Democrats, you know, Republican Democrats are Dixiecrats, right? That's what they call them.
Yeah, one, yeah. They're
Right.
the Southern. They're the Southerners.
So, what we have to fight for when we have a politician who wants to come to us, right? We want to see a policy where it's going to stabilize the funding. We want legislation that mandates that funding that goes to homes, houses, families, right? That's stable, that there isn't that fluctuation. That's something that we can demand. I don't care how charming a person is. I don't care how outgoing they can be, right? No me importa cómo el carisma de una persona que venga o cómo ellos salen y te entretienen. Queremos saber lo que tú vas a poner en la mesa, lo que tú vas a pelear y el voto tuyo. El voto tuyo cuando tú estás en Congreso, cuando tú estás en Albany, cuando tú estás en City Hall. Right? We want to know what your vote is going to be. Your one vote. And we got 51 votes in the council, and we have to dominate that. And so we have to know what it is we're fighting for. I don't care if you have a familiar face. A familiar face. I want you to be a fighter that's going to put policy down, that's going to help us, and then influence your peers in City Hall, in Albany.
Don't just make those policies and then have them sit at those tables where it's no motion move. It's one thing to create it and get it passed, but it's another thing to create it and have people behind it and have it just sit at the table. And when I say sit at the table,
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. That happens. I see that happen with state senators and council members says, I put this bill on the table, right? Oh, I'm putting this bill out and because they know we don't know how it works. So automatically we thinking, oh, you just did this. And then we go home and see that it's not working that way. We're like, well, I thought you said you did this. No, I just put it on there and it never made out of committee. It never even got voted on, right? And so,
it's sitting at the table.
estos políticos vienen y nos dicen nosotros, mira, yo voy a hacer esto y voy a hacer lo otro, y lo escriben, pero no lo pelean. Y lo hacen para el show. Para decir, mira lo que yo te hice para ti, pero no lo están peleando. They're not fighting for it. They're not going in there. They're not trying to influence it. They're not raising awareness to it. I'll give you an example of an executed policy and it's still not ratified as law. Yo te voy a dar un ejemplo de una póliza que está peleado, pero todavía no ha llegado a ley. Y fue presentado por Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It was presented by AOC. It was a repeal to the Fair Cloth Amendment. Now, the Fair Cloth Amendment is an amendment that was ratified under the Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act that restricted housing authorities from expanding their housing stock. So that means that if they demolished or dispositioned, or sold public housing units, that they couldn't rebuild that same amount. They would have to rebuild, if they do, with significantly less. Eso quiere decir, si destruyeron o vendieron apartamentos de housing público que ellos no podían construir más de la misma cantidad, tiene que ser menos. So eso era para encoger el stock público de housing. Tú sabes, el housing, it was to restrict, to consolidate, not consolidate, to shrink,
Okay.
right?
It's less units.
So,
that
because they
will
wanna
be
eliminate
rebuilt.
it.
They want to, yeah, and that's where, why we're saying we want to preserve Section 9. Because if everything goes Section 8, it's no more public housing, it's only federal housing.
Pero now,
Yeah.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez cogió esa póliza y ella es un
Yeah.
representante en la Casa de Representantes. Y ella peleó y pasó en la Casa de Representantes esa póliza. So she fought and she got that bill passed
Through the
in the
House.
House. It's not law yet because it has to pass in a Senate, right? But now this is us being persuasive. Now we have to fight behind that. Now we got 2 federal senators here, Gillibrand and Schumer, right? Remember, there's only 50 federal senators for the in that
whole
In the chamber.
in that chamber, right, in the Senate. But we got about over 400 council
Representatives.
not council members of
House of Representatives. Right?
representatives.
Was like 435, I think.
435, I
Yeah.
believe. 432, 435.
432 is the number I had, but
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so, we have to know that because this is what funds us, right? Our community at every level, not just public housing, your schools, your transit, what come, like all of these things, they come from different parts of jurisdictions, but they're coming from the government. Todo esto que pasa en la comunidad, esa financia viene del gobierno. Si es por la ciudad, por el estado, federal, y tenemos que saber cómo está entrando y por qué está entrando, y también tenemos que a determinar lo que nosotros queremos para la comunidad nuestra y decir esto es lo que queremos. Queremos esta póliza. We have to also determine what's happening in our communities and say this is what we want. This is the policy that we want.
And see, I think that is the thing. NYCHA families know how to fight, and they know how to fight against things. But right now, because the biggest thing is RAD and Blueprint.
That's very good. That's a very good.
RAD and Blueprint, right? And the first thing they'll ask you is, how do we stop it? There is no one solution to stopping it. We have not organized enough. We have not come out to understand what it is that we want from out of this. But we know how to say, no, we don't want Section 8. But if you ask them what it is that you want, they'll hear, oh, we want home ownership or we want resident management. They'll be the first to tell you that, right? And then you ask them, what does that look like and what is that? They can't answer it.
Right.
Pero yo te digo, mi gente, my people. This is what this show is all about. But we're bringing up this issue just so we can be aware of these things, para estar pendiente de lo que está pasando, para nosotros poder coger the next step, so that we could take the next step, para nosotros poder mudar adelante, right? And so that's what this is going to be doing, right? And she made a good point. We're good at fighting against. Somos expertos en peleando contra. Pero ahora es tiempo para nosotros pelear para algo. Now it's time for us to fight for
something. And we have to know what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
We have to
Each other.
know. We have to also know.
Let me double dutch in here for 1 second, because what you're saying is, and this has been a problem in the minority community, right? We'll fight against something, burn down the building, and go, okay, so now what's the plan? How do we rebuild the building? And they didn't think that far in advance, the whole plan through. And you're absolutely right, because I've seen, people get that question asked, and all right, so what does it look like? And you're like, well, we didn't think that far. So you're right. Yeah, we'll fight against something 100%. You know what I'm saying? But then after that, there's no long-term plan on what the solution is or the replacement is going to be.
Or what policy can our representatives push to support what we need? And that's what this show is about.
And what we're going to do is we are going to present some visions, some suggestions to get the juices flowing. For example, this deficit. Vamos nosotros a representar ejemplos de cosas que puedes hacer, las posibilidades. Y por ejemplo, we got to look at how do we preserve Section 9 using Section 9 strategies? Now, let me just explain what Section 9 is. Section 9 is public housing. Section 8 is vouchers. Section 8 pays the landlord the rest of the rent. You pay your 30%, they pay the rest of the rent. But that's only up to 50% of your AMI. With
Thank
public
you.
housing, they pay for the capital and the operations. That's what that funding is coming for, to pay for the salaries of the caretakers, maintenance workers, trade skills, and to make sure that the buildings are in functional order, right? Eso es la diferencia en sección 9 y sección 8. Sección 8 paga el landlord privado y sección 9 ayuda la autoridad de housing, la autoridad de vivienda para funcionar y estar bien. Y eso nosotros estamos peleando para la preservación de sección 9. Now, the preservation in section 9, we got strategies in the section 9, like home ownership. We're not talking about being homeowners for the whole, we're not ready. Not everybody's ready for that. And no one, it's not intended for that. It's intended for those who are ready to have that chance.
Maybe that 35% that are paying over $1,200 a month.
What if we had 10% of the housing stock to go for home ownership? Make sure it's viable, just 10%, a running 10%. And then let's look at Section 3. So now Section 3 is another thing.
That's a big.
Section 3 of the HUD Act of 1968 is a jobs, training, and enterprise mandate from the federal government, where the money that HUD expends has to be redistributed within the community that it's affecting. And public housing has a direct line to Section 3. Actually, the top priority of Section 3 is public housing residents, right? The top two tiers, 1 and 2. And we're gonna break that down for you. We're gonna show you what that looks like. We're gonna show you where it says that in legislation. We're gonna show you what it looks like. We're gonna show
Where you
you.
could go look it up on it, where you're gonna be able to click the link in the details.
Right.
We wanna, everything that we say here, we plan to make it factual, and where you can go and research this and see what we are telling you, as well as follow up and find your own information, and that makes you more informed. All we are here to do is to inform you on what your rights are, what would best interest you as a NYCHA resident, and how you should proceed. And I could bring it back to us being presidents, okay? Because we represent 10,000 people. So on a daily basis, where you have a lot of advocacy groups who get phone calls from residents, I get phone calls daily. I am helping residents on a daily basis. Why? Because I am an elected president of a development. And guess what? My job is to advocate. That's what presidency is. It's an advocacy job. It is a job that does not pay. It is a job that you do because you know that if you
'Cause you ran
allow
for it.
them.
Because
and
you ran for it.
not
Because they
only-
elected you in.
Okay, I ran for. Oh, let me bring that up. Yes, you do run for this position, and you have to get elected. And let me explain something to y'all. A lot of us presidents get more votes in our own NYCHA elections than elected officials do at the polls.
No.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I will say that because certain representatives in my area only get 275 votes at the poll, but yet they hold positions. It's certain representatives in my area that got less than 250 votes and they hold elected positions. And this is why it's important to know that. So if I, in my position, am elected and I could pull out just as many or more votes than an elected official, that means these elected officials are not doing their job.
So that's a good point, though. I want to bring up, we need also, we got a lot of elections coming up, a lot of important elections coming up, right? And we have to understand one thing. We have a tradition of coming out for the general election. And that's not the election that picks the candidate in our community. We're heavily democratic. Tenemos bastantes elecciones importantes que va a venir ahora, especialmente en junio, in June.
June
I
22nd.
think about 30 council members are going to be going up for election. at the same time?
I think it's
roughly?
34 to be exact. 34.
34 consejeros van a estar cambiando asientos o la posibilidad de cambiar asientos, right? We have to pay attention to that. The most important date for that is the primary, not the general election.
Absolutely.
El primario, la elección primario, esa es la elección más importante porque esa es la elección que va a determinar quién va a estar en el general y en las comunidades nuestras que son democráticos, in our communities that's democratic, you usually don't have a Republican running against them. You usually don't have a second party running against them.
So their race is the
And so
primary.
the primary is what picks them. I need you to come out for the primaries
Primaries.
on every single one of them. Necesitamos que salga para los primarios para cada uno.
And that's because we come out for the major election, right? But we don't do the local elections, right?
Absolutely.
We don't do, and really, the deal is this: the local election is what affects you directly.
Absolutely.
This guy represents you directly. You can touch him. You can feel him, right?
Basically, what it is, local elections are very important because whatever happens in D.C., Albany, guess what? It's your local elected officials that are disseminating those funds or that information. They are the ones overseeing the laws. So yes, your local elections, elección de local, es muy importante.
Yeah, yeah. I would almost say, really, I would venture to say that it's even more
That's
important.
the election itself.
Yeah, that's even
Because
more important.
New
Like,
York
you
is
need-
a Democratic
Yeah.
state. So whoever gets
city.
past the primary, they are automatically elected. I think that you can say that the November election is just for due process.
Okay.
Because you would never see well, I'm not going to say never, but you have yet to see a Republican run in our. I would like to know how many Republican petitions have been passed around in our communities.
I would have to go with
Because I
zero.
haven't seen any.
I'd have to almost go zero, really. I don't even think they view us as Republicans.
In our communities, yeah.
Yeah, in our community. And
But
I-
there's a large amount of Republicans in our community.
Well, listen, I made a statement on, and I've made the statement on each of the shows, and they say, well, what are you rocking? I said, well, I'm a Republican. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a Trumplican. I'm a Republican. You know what I'm saying? There's certain values in that work for me because of how my financial situation is set up. I'm a corporation, and I do business as a corporation, and Republicans, the tax breaks for corporations are better than individuals. I said, so that's the reason why. Now, do I vote Republican all the time? No, I don't. I voted for Barack Obama. I vote, I'm not tribal.
There you go.
What I'm trying to say, I'm not tribal. So it's almost like being an independent with a Republican vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but
you know what?
Yeah, but I'm not tribal at all.
We as NYCHA need our own party.
Yeah.
So
We need our own party, and Manny, I'm gonna let you handle that.
I just want us, perdona, excuse me.
Go ahead, Betty.
I just want us to recap on the two important issues that we spoke about just now, right? So the first thing is we gotta focus on our local elections, right? And those are one of our most important elections because if you can walk to their office, if you can shake that person's hands, and you can speak to them in that office directly, then you need to participate in who's in there. So, primero es, la elección importante son las elecciones locales. Si tú puedes caminar a la oficina del representante tuyo y tú lo puedes ver cara a cara y le puedes dar la mano, tú tienes que electar a esa persona porque esa persona es que está impactando su comunidad directamente. The second thing is, we have to focus on the primary elections. Los primarios es bien importante. Esa es la segunda importancia de lo que nosotros hablamos ahora. Tiene que ir y votar a los primarios. En los primarios son los que determina quién vas a ganar en el general. Porque a veces no hay nadie que está yendo contra ellos en el general. So tú vas y votas para el general. ¿Y para qué? Si ya lo ganaron. Si lo gana con un voto. Si ellos son los únicos que están corriendo en el general, gana con un voto. Pero if you go into the primary, where they're going to have 3, 4, 5 challenges, and you put your vote in there, si tú entras en el primario, donde hay
And no
la
more voting
competición,
for the name you know. No more voting for the name you know.
There you go.
Name recognition should not give you a win. Absolutely not.
Right.
It should not give you a win.
What have you done for me lately?
Not even lately. What are you doing right now?
Right
Okay,
now.
and one of the things I need us to understand as well is we elect people to push legislation, to introduce policy. We appreciate, but we do not want to see you all the time in the streets doing holiday stuff. We want you in your offices. We want you in City Hall. We want you in Albany. We want you in DC. We want you at those meetings. We want you at those tables. We want you representing us. I love to see you, but I want more. We deserve more, and we earned more.
And we earn some transparency too.
Absolutely.
Because don't get lost in DC. Don't get lost in Albany. Don't get lost in City Hall. Let us know what you're doing there. Let us know what policies are you're fighting for. Get from us the insight that you need to find out what's the policies that we need. If you look at NYCHA has community centers. One of the mandates
None of us own them anymore. Remember that.
One of the mandates that's in the law, well, there's a strong encouragement in the federal law for training to be local, and that's in federal law. Now we need a council member to now create policy that makes that mandatory. From federal law that says we encourage, now they can say we mandate this training. We're making sure that this training stays in our communities, the skilled trade trainings that we need. Nosotros necesitamos treneo para como carpintero y pintor y
Electrician,
electrician y plomero. perdona.
elevator
¿Verdad?
operators. They make money. These are
Necesitamos
trades.
eso.
Not all of our children are school ready. They need trades.
And
And it's not only in construction. 'Cause
Not only construction.
Listen, it also includes in the office.
but they can make policy on a local level to mandate that. Ellos pueden crear leyes para hacerlo mandatorio. Y nosotros tenemos, para eso es lo que votamos. Votamos para la persona que vas a asegurar que esas necesidades que tenemos la comunidad nuestra, we're going to fight for the people who's going to make sure that the needs necessary for our communities are made into law. We have to see our needs addressed in law. No longer come around and tell me that you have experience. No longer come around and shake my hand and smile at me.
We want to see it in black and white.
We
The
want to
same
see your
way.
plan.
In black and white. We need it in writing. We can no longer take what you're telling us because for far too long we have taken you on face value and we are here where we are today.
Y ese billete no tiene valor. That
And
dollar don't
dollars
spend,
spend,
baby.
B.
And so, because it ain't been spending for us. And so, these are some key issues that we have to look forward to coming in June. I think it's June. It's June.
Absolutely in June. I
And
just
so we're
want to throw out
prepping
there.
for June. We're also prepping for this
This fight.
NYCHA this thing that's happening in NYCHA. So I want you guys to understand, and I'm going to make this clear.
There you go. Please do.
The plan is to eliminate public housing in New York City. Not the elimination of public housing. That law still exists. That funding is still coming
There.
in.
Section 9 is still
They
alive.
want to eliminate NYCHA from New York City. Eliminate public housing from New York City. Why? Because they want to gentrify. They want to lighten up the city.
We are prime real estate. Every time a rad conversion happens, money is transferring hands, and things are taking place that are not including or inclusive of the families. We are not just buildings. We are people. We are people that live in these buildings. We are people that makes Every single community thrives. If you take NYCHA out of these communities in which we're impacted, there would be no money there. There would be no labor there. We need to start spending our dollars wisely. We need to start doing for ourselves the research. We need to start knowing what the difference is between your assembly member and your council member and your district leader and your state committee. And you need to know what each and every one of these positions entails. You need to work with each and every one of these local elected officials and understand what it is that they're doing. You need to understand and know what policies they're pushing, what they want, and you need to let them know enough is enough. We're not taking it anymore. We're not gonna sit here, we're not shaking your hands, we're not talking to you just to be talked to. When we speak, we want action and we wanna see it in black and white. We need it in writing. We are gone are the days that with the handshake and that's good enough. It's sad, but you know what? Through COVID, enough is enough. We are dying. You know how many presidents? I can't even, I've lost a lot of friends.
John Johnson, rest in peace.
Roxanne Taylor. I've lost a lot of friends. Michael Steele, okay? And let me tell y'all something. The only reason I'm here today is because of those people. It's because they took the time out when I asked the question to know what Section 3 was, to know what it is to be a president. How do you get, when you go to your elected officials and they can't get things fixed in your apartment, it's us, the presidents, that are doing it. We are the lost, fallen heroes. Understand that. Me and Manny are some of the youngest presidents out here, and we're talking about our senior generation. You know how many people that I lost to COVID? Because you know what? We was out there in the streets giving you food, making sure that we are picking up the food for distribution, making sure when they came and the governor threw that sanitizer at us with the mask, we had to make sure that the developments had it. We had to figure out the distribution, and we still doing it. And then you have people that come and they want to throw things at you and say, oh, good job. No, it's not a good job. If I could do it, you could do it too, and you're getting paid to do
You're
that.
supposed to do it better.
I'm
You got the
tired
resources
of
to do it
losing
better.
my friends, okay? That's
wait a
me
minute.
familia right there. I took a lot of loss.
NYCHA was using a product.
Yes,
that they were
let's
saying,
talk about that.
That they were saying
Occupy NYCHA, baby.
90 days. It had effectiveness against COVID for 90 days.
And this was in March. This was in March.
Before that, they were using a product that was a degreaser. Even before the 90-day product, they was using a cleaning product that was a degreaser, saying that this was effective against COVID. We challenged that. No help. This was us. This was our collaboration. We challenged that. Then they came out with contractors and said, this product lasts 90 days against the COVID, and they was gonna spray it on, and we was gonna come back around and spray it on again every 30 days because we love you, because it lasts 90, but we ain't gonna let it go for 90, we're gonna let it go for 30. It didn't last, it was a mold growth inhibitor. It had no effect on the COVID. I had the EPA reach out to them. I researched the product, had the EPA reach out to them, and had to shut it down. I was on conference calls with politicians on the conference call.
Brian Holman for NYCHA.
No. Right? Politicians on the conference call, and they're ignoring it. I got an apology from a politician because they ignored it. And then it came back and said, Manny, you was right and we was wrong. And so we have to know who we got out there on the front line for us.
Wait, hold on, 'cause just in case they didn't understand what was happening, right? So originally when COVID happened, they said that they had this cleaner for us, that it was supposed to stop the COVID, right? It was supposed to kill the COVID virus.
Without no scientific evidence.
There you go.
Well, no. To be clear,
Uh-huh.
it was not designated for that purpose.
Right.
Virus.
They was using a cleaner that was a cleaner,
Right.
not a disinfectant, and was not
Not a
approved
viral.
to because the EPA put out a list of products.
Of products, right.
That product
Was
wasn't on
not
that.
on the list.
Okay.
And then the next product they try to put out, right? And they put out a YouTube commercial saying that this product is effective for 90 days. And we're going to be placing it every 30 days. And that product had the EPA. The EPA told them that product has
Does
no
not kill
impact
COVID.
on COVID.
So, I mean,
For months, and nobody said that.
I mean,
Nobody.
because what I'm seeing, right, and, you know, and this is me looking outside in, right? That sounds like a deliberate attempt to kill people.
That sounds like negligence.
Just on NYCHA's behalf.
It
as
sounds
they-
like accepted negligence. See, this is the other thing we have to understand about
Okay,
NYCHA.
yeah.
There was an investigation
At Bagnon.
during the investigation that happened, that brought the federal monitor on, right? The Southern District of New York. So había una investigación con NYCHA, y perdona que no había español por un momento, so perdóname. Había una investigación con NYCHA en todo los maltratamientos que ellos estaban haciendo. En esta investigación, in that investigation, they uncovered that NYCHA had a training manual, an officially distributed training manual on how to deceive HUD. Ellos tenían un manual de treneo que ellos estaban dando a los empleados
We gonna bring it all.
oficialmente en cómo a practicar la decepción de HUD. So practices such as, and this was identified in the report, this is public information. If there was water leaks or floodings, they would cut off the water. Si habían liqueos
So
o
when they did
inundaciones, pagaban la agua. Así que cuando el inspector de HUD venía, no lo ve. So when a HUD
no
inspector
leaks.
comes in,
There's no
there's no
leaks.
water, no leaks.
Yeah.
They would take toxic waste and put it in a room and put do not enter in the room. Cogían materiales tóxicos y lo ponieron en un cuarto y pusieron en ese cuarto no entra. Para el inspector pasarlo. They would take cardboard or whatever it is and spray paint it and then put it up in a hole so you wouldn't see the hole. Now mind you, it goes on.
It goes.
Ahora, lo práctica, y ahora ellos sacaron ese manual de treneo en la decepción contra HUD. They took out that 2017, they took out that training manual officially distributed in 2017, en 2017. Estamos, ¿qué? 18, 19, 20, 21, 4 años. La mentalidad todavía está presente. The mentality is still there.
Yep.
We have some great people in NYCHA. I want to say that. We have some great people in NYCHA. Some people I respect and some people I care for. Nosotros tenemos buena gente en NYCHA. Gente que yo tengo respeto y gente que yo, tú sabes, que tengo cariño. But we also have some that don't. And that's the concern that we have.
For the
And who are
ones,
making these decisions? And who is putting us in this situation?
and getting back to the president.
I just want to say Eleanor Bumpus says patch jobs. She said no PPE, no PPD, just product. They don't care about us. That's what's happening in the chat room. I just wanted to kind of let y'all know that. That people are, you know, they're feeling what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just going to go back to this one point that I was making because it seems very deliberate. I mean, to say this, a product is going to work 90 days to prevent you from catching a disease that will kill you in 2 weeks, basically, because that's what COVID is, right? In its most basic form. That to me feels like a deliberate deception. That to me feels like a deliberate deception.
That is the culture of NYCHA, and that is what we live in.
Because how many people died because they thought that,
So how about this?
right? I'm just kind of curious.
I chased NYCHA, right? And just to be clear, NYCHA, all right? I chased NYCHA through politicians' conference calls, Facebook Lives and emails directly that I was having with them. Chased them down. I included the same politicians on these emails. Even down to the EPA email that I got that I CC'd everybody on. Everybody. 51 council members was CC'd on that.
Check your emails.
And nothing. I had to go to EPA. I had to go to the EPA.
Environmental Protection Agency.
Now, mind you, the reason why I went to them, I did the research. I found it, and it was because there was one product in the line that I was not sure of explicitly, so I called them to get assurance. I explained to them the situation, and they sent out the email the next day. And that was because I spoke to them at the end of that day. I got that email the morning of. Sent that email to them the morning of. That was April 1st. On April 15th, I'm on a conference call, and I have NYCHA telling me, oh, we're using this product, and I flipped. You trying to kill us? And they asked me, can we have a conversation?
That's honing in them.
And then the office of the politician, the chief of staff, said the same. Oh, can we have a side? Why are you? Y'all both need to do your jobs. June 5th.
And that's what they do.
June 5th came back and said, Manny, you were right and we were wrong. From April 1st to June 5th.
2 months.
There you go. But the whole time they were still using this product.
Right.
But you gotta understand that. The whole time they were still using this product. We know this, right? But this is not something that comes out to the public.
That everybody knows.
And it goes back to what I say. Presidents, we do work.
Right.
This is not stuff that you're gonna see. So that's the point of us opening these doors and letting the people in to understand the representation that they do have. So guys, you do have representation when you think you don't have representation, and it's a lot going on behind the doors that you don't know that's going on behind the doors, but we are all fighting, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you guys.
And Tamika L. Map says, thank you for speaking up. She's actually running for
Tamika, hi Mika. Yeah, she's running for city council.
So guess what, y'all? I know it happened quick, but we're at the hour.
So I want to thank everybody for
We're at an hour and two.
Mi gente, my people. Mi gente, my people. Listen, we are under construction. The show will get more informative, more powerful. This will be a resource for you. A resource. So the things that we bring up and we say to you, we will represent. We will evidence, and you will have it at your disposal so that you can have that conversation on a local level with your local representatives, with your state representatives, and with your federal representatives, and tell them no más, no more.
No more. No more. I love it, man.
My people.
This went so fast. You know what I'm saying? And I really enjoyed it.
You cut me off.
Yeah, I'm like, we had an hour, 5 minutes. I'm like, we did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so dope. And I mean, listen, we're gonna do this every Saturday at 2 p.m.
Yes,
right at 2
we
p.m.
have to get the time right.
Right, to get that straight. And I know I shared it. I actually shared it on my page, on the Real Discussion page, and I had to go and I opened it. I started to stream on the Real Discussion page, and I realized that, and then I shot over to One NYCHA page, and then sent the video over there. So we kind of got the best of both worlds on that one.
Gotcha.
But next week we go straight One NYCHA. What else is going on? Well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in, and like Manny said, this is the first show. We're just trying to get it together. We're under construction, and this is just going to get bigger and better and better and better. You know what I'm saying? The way it all happens. And people will start to build that 2 p.m. slot or whatever time we're going to do on Saturdays into their weekly, routine.
Better while you folding your clothes, you cooking your Saturday meal, you cleaning out your closet. We wanna just make sure that we're representative of everybody. Y todo. in NYCHA. You understand? Eleanor, I see you. I'm a Brooklyn girl myself. I feel you. Tamika, I love you. I love everybody who tuned in here today. I'm really appreciative of that. Me and Manny are planning to come, and like he said, we want to be factual. We want to give you the resources that you need, because this fight is so vast that we need help. And that's basically what this is. This is an organizing piece for you guys. We want to hear from you, and thank you for listening in, and tune in for next week.
Y vamos a hacer mejor con el español. Esto, perdónanos, tú sabes, nosotros estamos en la
Yeah, we gotta get that
transición.
Spanish together, brother.
Para atrás y para adelante.
I'm gonna learn it too.
Vamos a influenciar a Claudia. A
Sí,
Claudia
sí,
usar
sí,
más
sí.
español. Espanglete que ella tira. Necesitamos eso. Necesitamos ese espanglete
yo-
que tú tienes.
Yo no hablando español. Yo
Dalo así,
escucha.
dalo así. Yo no. Give me the De Blasio Spanish, the
No,
Bloomberg Spanish.
no. Representarle mi
Como
gente.
estas ustedes, right?
No.
Give them that Bloomberg Spanish, right?
Listen.
Well, let's get them. And we
This
love
the
you all,
first.
and we thank you all. Thank you guys, man. We appreciate it, and we're here for you, and we'll be here for you every week,
while I whip
every
this out.
Saturday a las dos.
Hit a button.
Mi
Excuse me while
gente,
I whip this out.
my people.